Well, welcome. I am Mr. Murphy, and in this video we're going to be looking at Power Standard skill number 23. And in this skill we're going to be looking at how to convert an expression that's in radical form to an expression that would be using rational exponents. So what's meant by that? Well, let's look at some examples of some problems we'll be working on here in a minute. So these are examples of expressions that are in radical form. And we have to know how to convert these to be using rational exponents. Now before we do that, it's really important to make sure we understand the terms we're using and what does it mean that it's in radical form, or what does it mean to put something in using rational exponents. So let's take a minute to talk about these terms. Now you might recall that a radical sign is the same as that square root symbol that you're familiar with. So those words mean the same thing. It's just that radical is more of the specific term, because we could have more than just a square root. We could have a cubed root, a fourth root, a fifth root. So that symbol itself is referred to as the radical. And when we have something in radical form, we have that little v, and inside that v is where we put whatever the root is. So if it's the fourth root, we'd put a 4 inside that little v. And the exponent, we're familiar with those. Those are the numbers that we would have in the air. Now, if we have something written as a rational exponent is where our exponent is a fraction. And that means that our fraction, the numerator and the denominator, have specific purposes. The numerator represents the exponent, while the denominator represents the root. So how do we use that? Well, let's look again at these examples. And we're going to take a minute now. We're going to work on a couple of these together, and then I'm going to have you do the last one and try that one on your own. So let's look at that first example here. We have the fourth root of 6x, that quantity being cubed. So to write this using rational exponents, I'm going to start with my base, which is the 6x. And my exponent, remember, is going to be a fraction. It's going to be a rational exponent with the denominator representing the root. So this would be the fourth root, so 4 goes in the denominator. And our numerator would represent the exponent, so that 3 would go in the numerator. And that's your answer. There's nothing more we have to do there. Where for the next one, we have the seventh root of 8k, that quantity being cubed. So in this one, we would have 8k, that whole quantity. Now notice how I put these in parentheses, because let's go back to that first one for a second. If I had just written it like this, that would mean that 3/4 would only apply to the x. So we'd only be taking the fourth root of x cubed, but not the 6. So it's very important that we include those parentheses. So the 8k, again, it's the whole thing here, so we put it in parentheses. So our exponent is going to be to the 3/7 power, because this would be, our denominator would represent the root. This is the 7th root. Our numerator represents the exponent. So that's going to be the 3. So we would have our exponent there would be to the 3/7. So why don't you guys take a second and try this last one on your own. So pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your answer. Okay, so let's see how you did. You should have just had 17r in parentheses. And that quantity would be raised to the 2/3 power, because it's the third root being squared. Well, there you have it. That's it. That's skill number 23. So again, a relatively simple concept, but it's very important to understand the terminology, because if they ask you to write something using radical or in radical form, you want to make sure you know what they mean by that. Or if they say to write something using rational exponents, you want to make sure you know what they mean. So knowing this terminology is very crucial. So with that, I hope you feel like you've mastered this skill, and good luck.